So just an update on the board. I have rubbed off now the shirt. It was only the shirt pattern, of course, and I then went ahead and made a shirt as well, but hey, who's counting? It's rubbed off the board. Now the vintage slip, I'm still finishing that off as we speak at the moment because I'm waiting for my daughter to come and do the hemming. But what do I do now? I might try the merino tops because that is the grey dress that was a fail, and it's underneath this table here and it's sort of looking at me. So I'm thinking that I could do the merino tops. It's plural. That one, the grey one, is obviously a top, and I was thinking of maybe doing another one. I've got a bunch of merino fabric in my stash, so I could make another one as well. Once I sort of get into a roll with those things, it's zoom, zoom, zoom on the overlockers. And because also we are going into winter now, so it's starting to get a bit chillier, and I think I'd quite like to have that merino top. And of course, empty this project bag, which is underneath, which is the failed grey dress. The first thing I need to do is get my patterns. So this knit top pattern is made from my block, which I have up there, but it has all the seam allowances and things already around it. It has a boat neck on it, and this one I want to do with a mock neck, my daughter tells me, and also somebody said it was a mock turtleneck, although I'm not quite sure what it's got to do with turtles. But anyway, a little up bit. So that's what I'm going to do, using this pattern and also my block, because my block has a round neck. So that's what I need to put on this pattern. So I will need to draw a new pattern, but it's going to be easier to draw around once I've already got the seam allowance on. Then my blocks don't have seam allowance on, so I'd have to draw around the entire thing and then add seam allowance all the way around the outside. So I'm going to draw around this one with the seam allowance, and then I can just change the neck on this, and that should be good to go, I think. So let's crack on with that. It will be a new pattern, but then I'll have a new mock neck version of this pattern. Always useful to have. It's one of those things that I will make again and again, I'm sure. So let's crack on with that. Ooh, loud. So let's crack on with that. So obviously the first thing I need to do is just draw around this old pattern. The other thing I've noticed with it is that actually this pattern has got 1.5 centimeters seam allowance on it, and I don't want to allow 1.5 centimeters, partly because the fabric I've got is in that dress and there may not be that much of it, and partly because I find that 1.5 centimeters on knits is probably more than you need, because I run it through my overlocker anyway. So I'm going to cut this down. I'm going to draw around the outside, but then I'm going to cut it down to a 1 centimeter seam allowance, especially because I want to make a block from this pattern reverse engineer. So, and I want it to be correct. Then of course I need to change the neck on it, which I will take the neck from my block and put it on here. I've already done the back, so we have very simple back pattern here, all ready to go. I've done 1 centimeter seam allowance, and the neck is from the block rather than from the old t-shirt. So just draw around the outside. That's really all I need to do at this point. And they generally just put little dashes and then join it up with French curve. Okay, all done. I have 3 pattern pieces. I've got a sleeve which is full length, and I have the front and the back with the new neckline on it, and with 1 centimeter seam allowance on all of the pattern pieces. So I think what I might do for the neck piece is sort of make the rest of the top and then sort of test out a bit that would stretch over my head but still fit on. I think that's going to be a bit of trial and error. The neck now is to the base of my neck to here, so whatever I put on the top will work as long as it goes over my head. And it'll stretch. So yeah, I think I'm going to figure that out later once I've made this. The next thing is to see if this will fit on the grey fabric that I have in the skirt. Let's hope, hey, fingers crossed. Well, it has just occurred to me that this grey dress has sleeves from my stretch top block. So these sleeves are the sleeves that I would cut from this fabric anyway. So the first job I'm going to do is quite tedious, but I think I just need to unpick them. If I unpick them, I have two perfectly good pre-cut sleeves, so why not? Well, it's Saturday morning, quite late in the morning, because I've had a very lazy start. But I have in the week detached the sleeves, which is good. Just sort of quietly in the evenings I come in and just unpick a bit. I've also harvested some of the cotton twill tape that was on this, the masses of twill tape, the acres and miles of twill tape that was actually on this garment to try and make it work. I'm harvesting a little bit of that because I will need to just stay the shoulder seams, because of course you want to put some sort of non-stretch along the seam so that the sleeve doesn't fall over. I have the dress with the wrap. I'm thinking I might just be quite ruthless and just, rather than unpicking anymore, actually just chop the seams off to try and make flat pieces of fabric. I think that's going to be the easiest and quickest way of doing it, so that I can have some flat pieces to put my pattern pieces on. So yeah, I'll bring you back when I've hacked this dress to bits. And I should also say, hair is absolutely crazy today. I woke up this morning, it looked like some sort of Medusa thing had gone on. I mean, there were curls and random things anywhere. I have brushed it, I have tried to restrain it, but it's not, I have no idea why, but it's just decided it's one of those days. I keep thinking that when my hair is longer, there will be more weight in it, so it won't do this mad curly thing or kicking out thing, but who knows. Of course, with really short hair, it never did that before. I mean, it would just sit on my head like a man's haircut, really. It just sits there. I got up in the morning, fingers through my hair, if at all, and that was that. So I'm getting used to this wayward hair, which I haven't had for 30 odd years. This does feel a little bit wrong, but I think it's probably the easiest way to do it, so here goes. Well, it's done, it's in pieces, and I have to say I've got a real sense of sort of relief. Isn't that bizarre? But now it has ceased to be a failed dress, and now it's just pieces of usable merino fabric. And actually I've managed to harvest most of the fabric. The only bit that I didn't manage to actually reclaim was the bit at the back that had all the darts in, so just from the waist up to the back of the neck. All the front pieces, the wrap, the back skirt, everything else I have managed to get out as perfectly good bits of fabric. So pleased with that. And of course, seeing as I'm reusing the arms anyway, I'm pretty certain there'll be enough. Well, I shouldn't actually say that, should I? Because this is my sewing room, and my sewing room quite often has things that don't go quite according to plan, shall we say. Little curveballs, little unexpected excitements, little mind games that need to be resolved, little puzzles. That's what we like to think of them as. Keeps the mental agility, you know. Anyway, I have flat pieces of fabric now, very pleased. So I shall be placing my pattern pieces on, and hopefully we can storm away and make this first turtleneck jumper. And of course I am fighting that usual problem, I don't know if you can tell. I might have to get an antihistamine. What I've forgotten, of course, is that this has been in a project bag, sat under my desk for, I don't know, I'll have to look back actually, when I did the dress project that failed. It'll be on my videos, my previous videos. I'll put a link up here, so if you want to check out the failed dress project, you can go and have a look. But since then, it has been underneath here gathering dust. I have a dust allergy, quite a bad dust allergy, so I might have to go and get an antihistamine before this really kicks in. I always forget, and then, oh, too much. Anyway, oh, I'll try not to sniff through this video, but it's my eyes run as well, which is a lot. Do you get allergies? Is that something you struggle with? I often think it's just me that has a dust allergy. My daughter, of course, has a dust allergy, so she understands. Do you have any allergies that stop you doing things that you love? Do share. Comments below. Put it in the comments below. I'd be really interested to know if I'm the only one, or are other sewists similarly plagued. Well, they have fitted perfectly. They're almost designed to go on a dress skirt folded in half. So that's perfect. I still have loads of fabric up the top, which I can get the neck pieces out of. And I still have that whole piece over there, which is the skirt back, which is spare. And then of course I've also got the sleeves out already. Just gonna chop those out and we'll be for the zooming together stage. New Zealand is great for really good quality merino. I actually get these from the fabric store. You can buy this online. I think they're in Newton. They have really nice merino fabrics. So that's where I've got my premium quality merino fabrics. It's not the cheapest, but I find they last forever. So it's worth getting the quality fabrics. And of course merino, it breathes, it's really comfortable to wear, it washes well. So I've pinned the shoulders of the front and the back together, and I'm just thinking now, if I do the sides and then try and insert these sleeves while they still are stitched all down here, I think that's going to be problematic because obviously I run this through my overlocker, and overlockers, they want to go straight, you know, like on a sewing machine you can sort of go around curves more easily, but on an overlocker you have to make the thing straight to put it through an overlocker. And I just think trying to make these sleeves straight to fit on it is just going to give me more headaches than I need. So I think it's going to be easier just to undo these seams and then stitch it on, because then of course what I do is I stitch the seams, I do the shoulder seams, then I stitch the sleeves on here flat, and then I do the seam from there all the way down to the bottom. And the other thing that I do is that I do the hem on the cuff first. Because my wrists are so small, I can't actually get it over the arm of my sewing machine to do that final cuff. So I need to do that flat and then do the side seams. So I'm going to unpick that. It's a long way of saying I'm going to unpick this, which is going to be a pain, but I think it's best to be done this way. Yeah, my husband just bought me a nice cup of tea, which is lovely. I have a podcast on the go, so why not sit down and just unpick some sleeves? To be honest, I really enjoy being in my sewing room and looking out at my garden, and I can't actually think of anything nicer. So a cup of tea, podcast, and a bit of unpicking. I also have a fairly handy dandy chair, which I don't think I've ever introduced you to. This is, it's an ex hairdressing chair. I got it from a charity shop. It swivels, it's really tiny, and it goes up and down. So in its full up position, I can sit up at my standing desk, which I use for my cutting table, and then I can lower it down for my sewing machine. And because I have my overlocker on a slightly higher shelf, I can raise it to go for my overlocker. And I found this little beauty. It's white as well. It goes in my sewing room, fits the decor. It's got a little back as well, so comfortable if you wanted to lean back a bit. It's brilliant, and I got it at a charity shop for $9. It also wheels about, which is very handy because in a really tiny sewing room like this, you can get quite stuck into corners, so to be able to wheel about and turn around and twist is really handy. Okay, I've done the unpicking, now it's time to overlock the shoulder seams, and then I can set in the sleeves. Okay, so that is done. I have the stay tape on the shoulders now, both sides. I have now stitched in the sleeves. I just now have the side seams to join together, and then it's the neck to look at. The cuffs I actually left joined at the end, because what I do is, because I finish the ends first before I join them, I also tack the ends of the sleeve, because otherwise when you're zooming up on the overlocker it can get out of whack, and so you've got a sort of a nasty join at the cuff. I know it's very difficult to see yet again because of the dark colour against a grey shower, but anyway, the shoulders here are falling off a little bit, but I think it's because I don't have the neck on properly. This is really quite a close neck, and obviously I need to get the the stand piece on, I've actually found the sleeves, I don't know when the armhole on this is just a little bit big. I don't know if it's because I took the sleeves off the dress, but it's also quite wide at the wrist. So I'm just going to take it in a little bit at the wrists. I think it's fitting reasonably well apart from that, as my tops usually do. But yeah, I found the armhole on this quite large this time. Maybe I will take that in for the next time because it is quite deep. I mean, I've got skinny little arms, so that's possibly what makes that happen. But yeah, and I think a little bit more in, you can see a little bit more in at the wrist because it's quite baggy there. The neck has to be sort of the right height, big enough to get over my head, but small enough to sit quite closely on my neck. Don't have a pattern piece for this, so I'm going to have to make it up. I think I want it to be maybe, I don't want it to come all the way up to this here on this one. I think maybe just like a little half neck one. So I'm just going to have to work that out. Anyway, looking good so far, I think. I've cut a sort of a rectangle of fabric. So it looks quite narrow, but I have managed to get it over my head. I can make it a little bit looser, I think. I might make it a little bit looser. But it goes on and off like anything, so I'll make it a little bit looser, I think. Yeah, it's all trial and error, isn't it? But I prefer not to do trial and error with overlocking because it's a pain to undo. Well, I'm pretty pleased with that. It fits really quite nicely. It's a little taller than I actually wanted, but it's absolutely fine and it's not worth the unpicking just for basically, what, 4mm difference. So yeah, pleased with that. It's actually taken me very little time, just an afternoon really, to make this top, excluding the unpicking, which I did in the evenings before this. I just need to now do a little hem on the bottom, just top stitch there and then top stitch around the neck and job done. So pleased now to have something that is wearable and isn't that the failed dress looking at me. So I think now I might storm on and make some more. So I just wanted to show you the things that I think I could improve on this jumper. So one of them is that when I lift my arm, it feels like the arm side is too low on this. That's just sort of a bit too much room here, and the arm maybe attaches too low. I'm thinking I might raise that arm side a little bit, so essentially just take some out. Now the shoulders are falling off here a little bit. I'm not sure whether that's because the shoulders are too long or whether the neck is not working quite correctly. So with the neck, it's sort of pulling out here, so it's joining a little bit sort of further down than I would like. So I'd like to bring the neck in. This was sort of a round neck that was on my block, but I don't think it was tight enough in. The other thing is this neck is just a little bit too high for me, so I think I'd like it just a centimetre lower. I can just fold that over a little bit. I just think that ideally that would be slightly lower, a centimetre lower. And again, if this actually joined in at the neck, I think that would fit better. I'm not quite sure why, but I seem to be getting this sort of piece here. I mean, obviously it's a stretch top, so you know, you're always at the whim of the stretch, how much stretch is in this particular piece of fabric. But it just sort of feels like the arms are just a little big here. So I'm going to try and fiddle with that, try and raise that a little bit, maybe take some of the width out at the top on the bust. It seems to fit reasonably well sort of at the back. I mean, it's not a bad fit by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I think it's, for me, it's very good because usually these things are an absolute nightmare. It fits nicely on the body. It comes out okay on the hips. happy with the length. The length is, usually these things on me are just way too long and they have just too much fabric. So that is good. Now the sleeves on this feel a little bit short, but of course these sleeves came off the dress. And of course this side, the arm side, had already been trimmed when I attached it. So I've probably taken a little length out of it. I think there's just a few alterations that I'd like to attempt on here, mainly around the arm, the shoulder and the neck, just tightening that up a little bit. I've just basically taken it closer in to another centimetre all the way around the edge. So that'll make the neck tighter. I have then brought the shoulder seam in by 2 centimetres. Brought it around here. I have raised the underarm by 1 centimetre. I've also brought the side in by 1 centimetre as well, narrowing this piece up across my chest, so hopefully it won't sort of bat wing out quite as much. And then bringing it in on the shoulder and bringing it slightly up there should sort of tighten the arm and bring it into the shoulder. Anyway, we'll see if that works. What I'll have to do now is match these alterations on the back, because this is the front. And then I will need to measure the distance around the arm side to match it up with the sleeve head. If you can see the sleeve head here, I need to make sure that this distance around here will be the same as the new size that I've put there. Now this is the handy dandy tool that I use for this. It's just a little rotating wheel, but essentially it allows you to measure the distance around curves. So that's really handy. I've had it for ages, but it does come in handy. The other way you could do it is just with a piece of string or thread or something like that, and then measure it that way. That would also work. It's another weekend now. I made some alterations to the pattern through the week in the evenings, and as you can see, I mean, I probably have put in a bit of footage about that, but just roughly what I've done is I've taken it in at the sides, I've raised the arm side, I've taken in the shoulder a little bit, and I have reduced the neck, so made the neck tighter. I have also lowered the height of the mock neck because it was just a little bit too high. So, and of course then on the sleeve I have adjusted the sleeve head to fit into the arm side. Fingers crossed, we hope. It's never an exact science, but this is stretch fabric, so it's a lot of forgiving in a stretch fabric. I have gone into my stash and I have found this beautiful, loads of beautiful red merino. It'll be premium merino from the fabric store. Really lovely. And I also have, again, nice large amount of the navy. Again, probably premium merino from the fabric store, because that's what I buy. I buy the premium merino from the fabric store. It's obviously I'm not going to show you the whole making of the same jumper yet again in the red. So probably the next thing you will see is, ta-da, a red top, and then maybe, ta-da, a blue top. So I'll get on with that. I'll turn the camera off and it'll enable me to work much quicker as well, because I don't have to keep turning it on and talking and filming. I do love chatting to you, by the way. It is such a joy. I do enjoy it. And it's always useful to look back on as well to see what I've done. But I think I'll just storm on and then show you the finished item, because you've seen what I've done already. This is a really nice fit. You can see on this side it's sitting nicely. I think the neck is sitting actually on the neck now, which is good. It's smooth across the top, meets on my shoulder. I haven't got the big gapey bit here, and when I put my arm down I don't have that big pleat that was coming in here. So that is going to be my pattern going forward, and I'm now going to make a navy one, but maybe this time with a boat neck. But I think what I might do with this is actually make a new block, because this fits much neater. You see on my arms here, it's not baggy around my biceps. It is fitted on my sleeves now, so it's sort of quite a nice, neat, fairly snug finish, which is what I like.